Hello everyone. Greetings from Narana Health. We are from Narana Super Specialty Hospital, Howrah. May month is observed worldwide as Bladder Cancer Awareness Month. So basically, now we are dealing with two C's, two problems. One is the COVID second wave, and equally important or not to forget is the cancers that are there. And as the world is fighting with this disease, let's not forget the cancer also. And this month we'll be talking about bladder cancer. For discussions, so we have me, Dr. Abhay Kumar. I am consultant uro-oncologist in Narana Hospitals, and Dr. Chandrakant MB is our medical oncologist here. Dr. Suman Malik is our radiation oncologist. So, hello everyone.
Hi.
Yes, sir. Please tell me. I mean, I can proceed with the person and program.
Yeah, Dr. Abhay, we nowadays we see lot of bladder cancer patients, and they usually come to us slightly later, and they roam around to other doctors with some complaint. So, what is your experience in your urological practice?
Yeah, thanks for asking this question. So basically, in our OPDs, when we see the patients, and the patients come with the one common problem, and that is the passing of blood in urine. In medical terms, we call it as a hematuria, or passage of blood in urine. So what I have seen, that patients have some history of passing blood. They either ignore it, or they think that's some small trivial event. It will pass off, and they say, I drink lot of water, and with that this bleeding has stopped. Or they have seen some physician or some local doctor, and they have given them some antibiotics, and with that the bleeding has stopped, and they feel that there was some problem which has been cured. So basically the problem is, this bleeding is episodic bleeding. Like if it has bled once, it will stop on its own. Even if you don't drink water, you don't do any treatment, this bleeding will stop, but it will recur after some time again. So this is the period where we are losing the time when you could have diagnosed the disease at the earlier stages. So that's why my message will be, don't ignore blood in urine. Even if it's a drop of urine, even if it's once in a lifetime, get it evaluated. This may be a sign of any problem, any cancer in the urine tract, which if not diagnosed at time may progress.
Yeah, rightly said that we see lot of hematuria patient or blood in urine without any pain or any complaint of pain. So that we should be very cautious about. And how do you evaluate these patients in your clinic, and what investigation usually you advise for them?
So basically, when the patient has come with a problem of passing blood in urine or hematuria, basically we classify these hematuria into two types. One is called painless hematuria, other with called some with pain or some burning and some difficulty. So the problematic one is the one which is painless. So they have passed blood, but they don't have any other problem. So this is the most serious kind of, and this should be evaluated thoroughly. The other type is the hematuria or passing of blood along with some burning in urine, some pain or some difficulty in passing urine, or some back pain like flank pain and with some fever like this. So these are the problems where you can anticipate that this person is having some stone problem in the urinary system, some infection in the urinary system, or some prostatic problem. But the one which don't have any these symptoms are the one where you suspect there is some cancer in the kidney or in the prostate or in the bladder, most commonly the bladder. So if the patient is the age group of around 40 years or so, and if the patient is having a history of smoking or some tobacco abuse, the first thing that should come into mind should be a bladder cancer, and evaluation includes one urine routine test to rule out any urinary infection, one ultrasound of the abdomen and pelvis to see for any changes in the kidney, the ureters, the bladder, the prostate, and with some basic other blood tests like hemoglobin, that how much he has bled, what is the baseline, hemoglobin in or blood in the body, some creatinine levels, so to know what is the kidney function like. So these are the basic tests which we do for any patient with hematuria.
Okay. And so once you suspect that this is a case of, probably it's a case of bladder tumor or bladder cancer, so how do you proceed for biopsy, or so do
Okay. Sir, देखिए this tumor which is there in the bladder, when we have suspected there is a hematuria, painless kind of, and on sonography we have found that there is some tumors there on the ultrasonography. So again there is some misconception among people here. So people come with to me with some report of sonography saying, sir, there was a polyp in the bladder or some cyst in the bladder. So just I want to make it clear, there is nothing called polyp or cyst in the bladder. They are all basically tumors, and they should all be evaluated by a procedure called cystoscopy. So basically, cystoscopy is a endoscopic procedure where we put small endoscopes inside the urinary passage and into the bladder and see what is the lesion, what is the problem in the bladder, and if there is any tumor-like thing or some growth or some abnormal growth in the bladder, we like to take the biopsy. So this biopsy is called transurethral resection of bladder tumor, in short form called TURBT. So basically a cystoscopy procedure where we put some endoscope and with some energy device, which may be a laser or current, we resect or cut the tumors and remove it through the urinary passage. When it's a small tumor, we remove the tumor completely. When it's a very big tumor and it's not amenable for complete resection by endoscopy, we take a sample or biopsy, and depending on further biopsy, we treat the cases. So these were the basic investigation, that patient with bleeding, on sonography some tumor in the bladder, we do a cystoscopy, and on cystoscopy if there is tumor, we resect it by a procedure called TURBT. Thank you.
Okay. So, Dr. Chandrakant, so lot of bladder cancer patients, they come to our OPD with a biopsy report, and usually, as probably we'll discuss in our discussion, that bladder tumor, we classify them as superficial bladder tumor and muscle invasive bladder tumor, because treatment of superficial bladder tumor and muscle invasive bladder tumor is totally different. And lot of times we see biopsy report without having a muscle in it. So I think you have the same experience
Yes.
in your OPD.
Yes, sir, exactly. You have pointed out a very important thing. So, bladder has mainly a muscle, a detrusor muscle, and this is required for contraction so that the urine is expelled out. So, this acts as a barrier for the bladder tumor which is there inside to get into the body. So, my whole treatment, whether I can save the bladder or whether this disease gets into the system and spreads elsewhere, all depends on whether it has invaded the bladder muscle or it has remained in the mucosa. If it is in the mucosa, then the bladder can be saved. Just as Dr. Abhay excellently explained, that you have to go inside the bladder, you have to just take out the tumor and you have to keep under observation. So, to give injections or chemotherapy or to operate the bladder completely, it all depends on whether the muscle is involved or not. Detrusor muscle is a very tough muscle and acts as a barrier for systemic spread of disease into the body. So, if I can pick up the bladder tumor early, as Dr. Abhay said, any hematuria is extremely important. If you come early, then we can detect the tumor before it has actually invaded the detrusor muscle. So, coming early is the key for detecting it before it has gone into the detrusor muscle. But even if it has gone into the detrusor muscle, still we can save the bladder. Dr. Abhay will explain how to save the bladder, what is partial cystectomy, and very importantly, the moment muscle is involved, that means the tumor cells have entered into the body and this patient needs chemotherapy as an important treatment. So, whenever we have a biopsy, knowing whether it is cancer or not is not sufficient. I just want to know, is there muscle invasion or not? So, broadly to classify, we have three types of stages in bladder cancer. One is non-muscle invasive, just on the mucosa, not got into the muscle. This is NMIBC, non-muscle invasive bladder cancer. The second category is muscle invasive. Muscle is involved, but nowhere it has spread. The third category is muscle is involved, it has spread elsewhere. This is what we call advanced disease. So, the aim is to pick it up as early as NMIBC or non-muscle invasive bladder cancer. But the moment it is muscle invasive, then a big surgery, chemotherapy, all is required. So the take-home message all of you must get is come early. As Dr. Abhay said, 1 drop of blood in urine is not a joke. You cannot ignore it. You have to come and you have to show so that you pick it up before it has touched the muscle. Yes.
Right. So, Dr. Abhay, uh, suppose a patient has come in your OPD, probably being evaluated by other urologists somewhere else, with a biopsy report of bladder tumor, superficial bladder tumor. So, would you rightly jump for the treatment, or would you like to see the bladder again after initial assessment?
I mean, sir, absolutely rightly pointed out. And I will just carry from where the Chandrakant left. Pathology is the most important thing in the management of the bladder cancer. Whether the disease has gone into the muscle layer of the bladder or not is the most important deciding factor for the treatment further. And for that, the first procedure, that the TURBT, has to be done very thoroughly. The complete tumor has to be removed if possible, and the deep, I mean the roots of the tumor where they are in the muscle should always be there in the specimen to look for muscle invasion. Many times in our practice, we have seen that the TURBT has been done by some surgeon, but the muscle is not there in the specimen, and then that's a problem. Because we need to do the surgery again. This is called restaging TURBT, where we go again into the bladder by endoscopic procedure and resect the root of the base of the tumor again to know exactly whether we are dealing with a non-muscle invasive superficial cancer or a deeper, muscle invasive cancer. So, depending whether this tumor is there, some residual tumor is there or not, the muscle is there or not. So, to confirm everything, we do a cystoscopy again to confirm the things before planning any further treatment.
Right. And sometimes bladder tumors are multiple in number. So that's why even if after one TURBT, before proceeding for any treatment, it is important to look at the bladder mucosa again to rule out any other small size tumor. Right.
Right.
So,
right.
as Dr. Chandrakant was explaining us nicely that approach for a superficial bladder tumor is different from deep bladder tumor. So, how do you treat a superficial bladder tumor, Dr. Abhay? Can we save bladder in superficial bladder tumor?
Luckily, I know, still we get a lot of bladder cancer which are superficial. So, and this is a good thing about it, that is in most of the cases we can preserve the bladders. So again, we have divided those superficial tumors into risk, low risk or high risk. So this bladder cancers has a chance to recur. They have the tendency to come back again and again. So depending on what is the probability or what is the chances that the tumor will come back again, we have divided these tumors into low risk and high risk and others, right? So if the tumor is in the high risk group, the primary tumor which has been removed is in the high risk group, that is a kind of some superficial invasion is there, or it's a high grade kind of cancer, or it was a very, multiple kind of tumors or big tumors, then in those cases there is a high chance that the tumor will come back again. So for that, this patient needs to remain under surveillance or regular cystoscopies. So we do regular 3 monthly cystoscopies on those patients. And to prevent the further recurrence and to prevent the further progression. Progression is like when the patient was in the low grade, now has become a high grade. When it was a superficial, it will become deeper. So to prevent those recurrence and progression, we give some intravesical treatment in the bladder. That is some sort of medicines or chemicals or vaccines inside the urinary bladder to prevent this progression and recurrence. So for that, the old, time-tested drug is BCG, the same vaccine, BCG vaccine which is given to the children, is useful here in the bladder cancer patients to prevent the further recurrence. So, I've seen a lot of my patients who are under BCG and feel that it's complete. So even if you are receiving BCG, you need to remain under surveillance or follow up to check whether the BCG is working or not working, whether you are having a recurrence or not recurrence. So this was about the management of superficial kind of tumors.
So we have seen many patients they do not tolerate BCG well, and in many patients even we have seen progression of superficial bladder tumor only even after giving BCG. So Dr. Chandrakant, do you
Yes.
have any other option in those cases?
Yes. So, well, bladder is an important organ in the body because if I say the patient that you cannot pass urine and you will have a bag with you permanently, it's a disappointing thing. So, the surgeon will always try and preserve bladder. So, the first priority is to preserve life, and the second priority is to preserve bladder. So, we have excellent techniques. If it is superficial bladder cancer, we do excellent TURBT, keep looking into it regularly, every 2 monthly, 3 monthly, make sure that the bladder cancer is not recurring. And we also have injections like BCG just to improve our immunity to fight against cancer. But unfortunately, in some small subset of patients, in spite of these efforts, the bladder keeps coming back, the tumor keeps coming back. But unfortunately, in these situations, to cure, we have to remove the bladder even if it has not invaded the muscle, what we call as BCG refractory bladder cancer. So, but now BCG does work by improving immunity. So now we know that to fight cancer, the only solution is to improve our immunity. So smoking is a big risk factor for bladder cancer, and smoking does it by causing this carcinogens and also suppresses immunity. So the best way to fight bladder cancer from inside is to improve our immunity. So we can do it by giving BCG injections, and the other way is now we have what is called as immunotherapy in oncology, and we have a drug called pembrolizumab. So in those patients where they are not willing for removing the bladder or cystectomy, so to postpone the recurrence or to give a long-term survival for these patients, we have some immuno-oncology drugs, pembrolizumab. So this drug is a simple injection, has almost negligible side effects, once in 3 weekly. If you can continue for up to 1 year, so we can spare these patients from rapid progression, and we can keep the disease arrested. This will not kill the cancer cells. This has got no direct effect on the cancer cell, but it improves the body's immunity to fight against cancer. And very importantly, cessation of smoking or any form of tobacco is the first treatment and first precaution you need to undergo before even thinking of any treatment for bladder cancer. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Chandrakant. And now we'll move forward to slightly higher stage disease like muscle invasive bladder cancer. So, in muscle invasive bladder cancer, Dr. Abhay, is the surgery is the only choice, or if you are considering for surgery, so what is your take on surgery? What are the options for surgery if a patient wants to preserve the bladder or he wants to have a bladder kind of organ? So how do you go for it?
I mean, this is a very difficult task sitting in the OPD and suggesting to anyone that you have got a cancer which is gone deep in the muscle but still looks curable, but for that you need to remove the bladder. So that's a very difficult situation to explain the patients, and very difficult for the patient and the relatives as well to accept the treatment modalities, because we need to have a cancer-free life. Also, to have a normal life or near normal life. No one likes to have a stoma or bag or appliance fitted on the body. So earlier, for any cancer of muscle invasive bladder cancer patient, we used to remove the bladder. That is a surgery called radical cystectomy, and you used to place a stoma on the abdominal wall. That was called ileal conduit. So people were doing it regularly, and that was the only option for those patients. But nowadays, with the improvement in the maybe knowledge and technology and maybe understanding of the surgeons or expertise of surgeons, now we can do a cystectomy, that is remove the bladder and create a artificial bladder, that is called a neo bladder, from the patient's own intestine. And maybe we are one of the centers who in Eastern India who are doing the maximum number of neo bladder surgery for these patients, and they have a near normal life. They don't require any stoma on the body. Other than neobladder, we have some patients where the tumor is in such location that they are amenable to some bladder preserving kind of surgeries, where we remove the cancer along with some normal bladder wall and preserve the rest of the bladder. This is called partial cystectomy, and we are able to do and preserve the bladder in tumors which are located on the dome or near the roof of the bladder. So these are the two procedures where patients can have a normal life. Otherwise, the patient has to undergo a surgery for conduit. Acha, Dr. Malik, we can have the patients for who are not at all candidate for surgery. We can't do the surgery for radical cystectomy. For that, we have some bladder preservation protocol. Please, expand this.
Yeah, if there is another option for bladder preservation, that is radiotherapy. So, radiotherapy we consider for two kinds of patient. One is in muscle invasive bladder cancer, where complete TURBT is possible. After doing the complete TURBT, we may consider of adding radiotherapy along with chemotherapy. And we have seen the outcome of chemoradiation is equivalent that of surgery, and the standard of surgery was radical cystectomy. So, by this approach, actually, we significantly can reduce the number of patients who needs radical cystectomy. And in other group of patients where those patients are not fit for surgery, maybe for medical comorbidities or other comorbidities, we cannot consider for surgery. In those cases, yes, we can consider for radical radiotherapy with or without chemotherapy. If patient is fit for chemotherapy, it's always better to add chemotherapy. And in those cases, though the outcome is not as good as surgery, but even we can actually reach to a stage where we can cure those patients in certain number of patients. And there is another important aspect that Dr. Chandrakant, I think, better to explain, that there is a important role of chemotherapy, even in if we are thinking of surgery, or even if we are thinking of radiotherapy and bladder preservation. So, Dr. Chandrakant.
Yes. So, as very well explained, if there is muscle invasion, the bladder invasion is there, and it reaches beyond the bladder. The tumor goes into the blood, has the chance of systemic spread. It can go to lymph nodes, it can go to lung, it can go to liver. So the problem is bladder invasion. The moment bladder invasion is there, the disease is not confined to bladder only. It is a systemic disease. If we do a blood test and find out circulating tumor cells, we can find these tumor cells. So the moment muscle invasion is there, this is not a disease localized to bladder. This is a disease which is there in the blood. The moment it is there in the blood, you cannot operate or you cannot radiate the blood. You need some injections. So we give chemotherapy for these patients. The chemotherapy is what we use for bladder cancer and not that toxic. And we give what is known as a platinum-based chemotherapy. These are very well tolerated and they don't cause much of hair loss. And the duration of chemotherapy is not long. It is around 2.5 to 3 months duration. So in those patients where there is a muscle invasive bladder cancer, if I can give some chemotherapy before surgery, I can shrink the tumor and I can facilitate for some bladder preservation, or I can facilitate for partial cystectomy, what Dr. Abhay Kumar does routinely in our hospital. So doing a partial cystectomy is not an easy job. So to shrink the tumor, to save the bladder in a muscle invasive bladder cancer needs a lot of effort. We need to have good chemotherapy, shrink the tumor to the smallest size, then remove only the tumor and preserve the bladder so that the patient has excellent quality of life and is also cured of cancer. So the take home message is, even if you have a muscle invasive bladder cancer with proper systemic therapy, you must have a systemic therapy because it is in the blood. Give some systemic therapy, shrink the tumor and try to preserve the bladder whenever possible. You can have the bladder and also you can get cured of cancer. In those patients where I am not able to do surgery because he is old or the patient is not willing at all, then giving chemotherapy, radiotherapy together. If you cannot cut it, you can burn it with radiotherapy and you can cure these patients. So there is no need of getting disheartened even if we are diagnosed with a muscle invasive bladder cancer. Still, we can cure a substantial number of patients with multimodality therapy, surgery, radiation, chemotherapy, all combined. We can cure nearly 70% patients even in a muscle invasive bladder cancer.
Right. And Dr. Abhay, after surgery, so how do you follow up your patients, and especially those patients with new bladder? So how do you follow them up?
So basically, for the patients, first I would like to have the non-muscle invasive superficial.
Okay.
So they have to be on regular cystoscopy
As
every 3
you
months.
mentioned,
There is a
yes.
protocol. So must is must. Coming to the the muscle invasive one, which have undergone the bladder preservation protocol, they also must undergo cystoscopies regular intervals. For the patients who have undergone a cystectomy, they again come back to us for regular intervals for surveillance at every 3 months with routine blood test that includes the CBC, the renal function, the liver function, and some imaging of the chest and abdomen. Depending on how the disease has progressed, what was the biopsy, we do either ultrasonography or the CT scan. Basically, we want to look for whether the tumor has come back again or not, and how the kidneys are functioning, because many times after surgery we see the renal function deteriorating or going down. So we need to have a watch on the kidney function and whether the tumor has come back around. They have to be on regular surveillance. Sometimes these new bladders which we do don't function exactly the way we think. Like they don't clear the urine completely, and in those cases the kidney function may go haywire. So those patients require some sort of training to how they can pass urine better. Sometimes, very rarely, patients do not pass urine at all. For those patients, we do, instruct them how to do self-catheterization. So again, unless we do the regular checkup or regular follow-up, we don't know. So if the patient is going to adhere to our follow-up protocol, then only we, counsel this patient for surgery. Otherwise, we don't counsel for surgery. So, whether Dr. Chandra, from where Dr. Chandrakant left, for bladder cancer patients, for muscle invasive bladder cancer patients, there are multiple options depending on how the kidneys are working, how is the patient's performance status, how is the tumor, and whether the patient is keen for surgery or not. We can have the bladder preservation protocol by chemotherapy, the radiation therapy, and maximal TURBT, that is the complete endoscopic removal of the tumor. Some patients who can not tolerate chemotherapy in the adjuvant settings, they may require chemotherapy after the surgery. So if they are fit for chemotherapy, new adjuvant chemotherapy before the surgery should be given. So this was in the nutshell complete. So basically, the treatment of bladder cancer is a multi-modality treatment where we need all the hands joined together to fight this disease. This is not a one man's disease to fight it. And overall, the most important is the support from the family members and the patient's motivation. If the patient has the will to fight and the strength, then only we can fight this disease. And for that, in fact, we have started the support group in our hospital. This is called NH Bijoy, where we involve the patients, caregivers, the family members, and the patients, and our own health workers like the paramedicals, the nurses, the stoma nurses, everyone. So they encourage the patient, they talk to the patient, and then support the patient. And I have seen that this actually works, and the patients are now maybe feeling better after undergoing this treatments. And because any treatment, be it TURBT, regular cystoscopy, be it BCG, be it chemotherapy, be it surgery, it's challenging to administer, and keep it doing every 3 months, it's challenging again. So it's a very useful platform for all of us that we discuss the things, maybe share our knowledge, experience with others through these live sessions and our support group in our hospitals.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr.
Yeah, one
Abhay.
more question I would like to ask.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of
Advanced.
questions regarding this second wave in the pandemic that we are facing since last 1.5 years. So that how to take care of these patients during this COVID situation. One question, and next will be about the vaccination, because we routinely get a lot of questions about the vaccines, that whether to take or not to take, or which vaccine to take. So I like to have from you. Yeah.
Yeah, so there is no as such contraindication for vaccination as such for a bladder cancer patient until unless they are on chemotherapy and severely. And you can add from your side.
Yes, sir. So, as you very correctly said, vaccine must be taken from all cancer patients because we have good evidence that if I take vaccine, I may be infected with COVID, but I will not reach an ICU. I will get away. I will have the energy to fight COVID virus. So, vaccine is a must. And what about chemotherapy? So, chemotherapy usually kills WBs, that is neutrophils. They don't usually kill the lymphocytes. So, for developing immunity against coronavirus, I need lymphocytes. I need antibodies in me, T cells, B cells. These are not affected by chemotherapy. So, unless and until a patient has a blood cancer and has on severe immunosuppressive chemotherapy, all patients of chemotherapy must take COVID vaccine, irrespective of whether it is on the day of chemo or other day of chemo, doesn't matter at all, because chemotherapy hardly affects lymphocytes. Lymphocytes are spared by chemotherapy. So all cancer patients, whether bladder cancer, any cancer, must take vaccine so that we don't reach ICU and we have the energy to fight. And lastly, before we end the session, just one last word. Now there is so much of advancement in oncology. We have understood that we can fight cancer only by improving immunity in the body. So even if the bladder cancer comes back, even if it has gone to bone, lung, liver, we had a survival less than 6 months before. Now we have understood that the best way to fight these is by chemotherapy, immunotherapy, targeted therapy. These are the ways where we can have a long-term survival. So even if it is advanced disease, there is so much of research going on where we can still add a lot of survival, and we can add to what is called practically cure, and surviving even beyond 5 years is the way to go. So bladder cancer is never disheartening, whether early disease, advanced disease, locally advanced disease, still we can handle, we can fight bladder cancer, and very importantly, no tobacco whatsoever right from now. So this is the message what all of us want to give. We should be positive in fighting cancer. With all our efforts, including viewers, parents and relatives, everybody, we all have to join our hands together to fight against this deadly disease.
So thank you, Dr. Chandrakant. Thank you, Dr. Abhay.
Thank you, sir.
And all, please be safe and please follow COVID protocols and wear mask, keep distance and wash your hand. So be safe. See you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all.